Welcome to Everyday Martial Artist, a weekly podcast where you'll join me, Brian Doucette, as I interview a different martial artist each episode and hear their story. Some guests you may have heard of, and some you probably haven't. Be sure to subscribe where all your favorite podcasts are available. Also visit our website at everydaymartialartist.com. If you're listening for a specific interview, I sure hope you'll stay and check out the other episodes. A very special thank you to Topher Williams for our custom theme music. And now, the newest episode of Everyday Martial Artist. Everyday Martial Artist is brought to you by KOOnline.com for all your martial arts needs. Sparring and safety gear, rank belts, uniforms, weapons, patches, and more. Wholesale supplies made by martial artists for martial artists. Visit us today at ko-online.com. Hello and welcome to Everyday Martial Artist. I'm your host, Brian Doucette, and as we do every week, we're joined by a brand new guest talking about their life and their journey throughout the world of martial arts and other stuff they might be involved in. My guest today is a lifelong martial artist and fitness enthusiast who began his martial arts journey as a teen. He studied and holds belt in multiple arts and has trained and competed in traditional martial arts competitions as well as kickboxing and Western boxing matches. Like many other guests, he began pursuing BJJ after watching UFC #1 back in '93. He's competed in the IBJJF, Worlds, Pans, Masters, Gracie Nationals, Naga, Grappler's Quest, Pancrase, and more. In 2008, he and his wife opened Fargo BJJ, and just 2 years ago opened their second location in Grand Forks, North Dakota. He's an 8-year active duty Army vet, 82nd Airborne. He's a musician and music enthusiast, and he's a survivor of a dissected aortic aneurysm. He's married to his wife, Sarah, and together they have 2 teenagers. Please welcome my guest today, Mr. George Andersch. How you doing today, sir?
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you, George. Like I said, I know we joked a little bit about it. We've been talking about this for a while, probably almost since I started the show, but and I know last time I bumped into Sarah, she said she was going to give you a nudge, so I'm glad we're finally doing this.
Yeah, man. Sorry to put you through it.
It's all good, man. You like I said, you've been on my list. You know, I met George around the time he opened his school. I used to judge local MMA fights, and he opened his school, and I remember popping in, I think your second or third day to introduce myself, and I always enjoys our conversations and looking forward to really getting to know a lot more about you today.
Awesome.
Well, what we do with all my guests, what I want to do is, I mentioned you started as a teen, but I want to know what led to that. I want to go back to the very beginning, find out where that first interest in martial arts came from, kind of that first spark that kicked off your martial arts journey.
Well, like I said, started off as a teen. And not formal training right away, like as a child. I grew up, I'm an old guy. I grew up in the 70s, and I was born in 1968, so I'm 57. And I grew up in that time period of like just awesome television, Bruce Lee, 70s, working and became a teenager in 1980 when the martial arts action hero movies really were at their peak.
Yep.
And, I don't think there's anybody that grew up in that time period that, didn't want to be a ninja.
Yeah, that is right.
Strangely enough, I had a really big martial arts supply store that existed just around the corner from my house.
Really?
So I used to, and of course, there's no internet or anything, so you don't have access to any information back then except for books in the library.
Yep.
But I used to be able to just ride my bike around the corner, and there was this huge, it was called the Striking Fist, and they supplied every martial arts school in the tri-state area. So it was a huge place that had every book, every VHS tape, every magazine and weapon. It was, the big wall of throwing stars and swords and everything. And I used to just have my face planted against that window every day. And I'd go in, and anytime I can scrape up some money, I'd buy another book, another VHS cassette. And of course, ninja weapons and everything like that. And, this is, I'm probably 12 or 10, and, back then they'll sell to anybody.
Yep.
And so I just really loved the movies. I loved the life. I just found it very fascinating. I didn't have a lot of friends. When I was growing up, I lived on a street, I was right on the border of a school, 2 school zones. So most of the kids went to a different school than I did. And I was on the other side of the street, so I went to a different school.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't have a lot of friends. And I kind of lived in this imaginary TV world where I loved martial arts. And when I was in high school, when I got to high school, I was talking in class with one of my friends one day, and he was talking about being a black belt in Okinawan karate. And I was like, get out of here. That's really cool. You're in karate? He's like, oh yeah, his dad teaches out of their basement. So that's how I actually started formal training when I got into high school.
Wow.
I don't know, whatever age that is, 15 or I don't even know. Yeah. And that's when I actually started taking martial arts lessons. And because I grew up in that era of like TV action, I always found it very fascinating. What really attracted me to martial arts was the whole idea of like, you know, the unarmed combat, being able to like fight like someone, like it's almost like a superhero.
Yeah.
You know, it was like this magical skill, like you can kind of like fight people and like win. And like I wasn't very big and like I said, not very popular. And it was just this thing that kind of like made me just, you know, it kind of made up for what I didn't have in real life.
That is cool. So when you finally went and started training with your friend's dad, do you remember some of those first few lessons, maybe some of the things you learned, and maybe what drew you in, and what, you know, once you got there, what made you want to do it that specific style and train with them?
Well, I mean, I was sold on wanting to learn any martial art. It didn't really matter what it was,
okay.
To be honest with you, you know, to be doing something for real formally. And it turned out to be Ishinuru karate. It's an Okinawan style. It's a very hard style, so it's a lot of like body conditioning and kind of, you know, as far as traditional martial arts go, kind of realistic.
Yeah.
And it was very traditional too, because the person that like his dad trained with Master Shimabuku from Okinawa himself personally.
Oh, wow.
So it was one of the few Ishinuru karate schools in the United States that was directly, like, as a matter of fact, Mr. Shimabuku came to our school once. I actually met him, and he did like a class, which was like at the time was amazing. It was like I said, he was like a ninja to me. Yeah. So that was like my first foray into martial arts. And I really loved the fighting aspect of it. At first, I was kind of really taken by like the whole culture and the mysticism and everything. You know, I had these dreams of wanting to go like live in the Shaolin Temple and everything. I said it's the 80s, you know, everybody wanted that.
Of course.
And but like what really drew it to me was the physical functionality of being able to fight. That's what I liked the most. I was never really into the forms or weapons or anything like that. I found like unarmed combat to be like the ultimate personal challenge.
Okay.
And that's what really drew it to me. And that's what I focused on.
Wow. So how long did you train there before you did your first tournament?
Let me see. Man, I would say probably like a couple years, 2 years, maybe.
Okay.
The guy that ran it, Mr. Oseki, he was very strict. And like, he was one of those guys that it was his way or the highway, and you had to be at a certain level to do anything. And if you weren't up to snuff, like you weren't doing anything, you know?
Yeah.
So very strict. And you know, it's the time period too. Cause like you can say what you want about martial arts today, but you know, if you've, you know, like traditional martial arts, like strip mall karate and stuff, if you've ever known, and you're probably a little closer to my age, I don't know how old you are, but if 51. You know anybody that, yeah, okay, so we're in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
If you know anybody who trained Taekwondo in the 70s or traditional martial arts in like the early 80s, I mean, those guys were badasses. That was real fighters.
Yeah.
Back then.
Yep.
You know, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I know I've had with my instructor, with Master Jim, I've had that conversation many times. And he said if he taught like his instructor did in the 70s and early 80s, he'd probably be in jail right now.
He wouldn't have any students.
Exactly. Sure. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. And I just got more open, and like, even though it was kind of taboo back in those days, I was really into cross training. I later met more and more people that trained martial arts, and I would go train at their schools, Taekwondo, Kung Fu.
Nice.
There was a jiu-jitsu, like a judokai kind of judo jiu-jitsu school, which I probably should, like, look in hindsight, I probably should have spent more time at.
Yeah.
But like, I just didn't understand what they were doing at the time. I didn't see the value of it because it was all striking back then.
I've interviewed a few people who had the traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu, and yeah, they're so, yeah, it's more stand-up than grappling. And so like, yes, it has a grappling component, but it's more stand-up. And so, yeah, sure. I get that. I get why you looked at it that way. That's kind of cool. So do you remember your first ever tournament you entered?
Yeah, we didn't do a lot of tournaments with that school because they were like a really, they felt like they were more like street self-defense and stuff like that. But we did a couple, and I don't remember what years they were, mid to late 80s, maybe. Okay. I remember one that was the big one. It was the Guard State Games, New Jersey State Championship.
Okay.
And it was like a point contact, one of those where like it was like full contact but points.
Yeah.
Very Karate Kid-ish.
Yep.
You know? And I remember I won that division, and then I did another division, and I got disqualified for like excessive contact, which I didn't understand because it's a contact. I don't know how you can be excessive contact in a contact comp.
Yeah.
But anyway, like everybody did really good, and I felt really good about it. And that's what made me decide to like start pursuing more traditional like ring sport, like kickboxing. And because like, remember, it's the 70s and early 80s. So like I wanted to be a PKA fighter. Remember PKA?
Oh yeah. They're trying to bring it back actually. Yep.
I wanted to be a PKA. If anybody listening even remembers what that is, that was like America's version of Muay Thai.
Yeah.
And that was the big thing at the time.
Yeah, lucky enough to interview the guy that started PKA, and they're trying to bring it back. So fingers crossed.
Cool.
I'd love to see more kick. I know Minnesota sanctions it now, so I'm hoping maybe we'll get some kickboxing up in this area sometime. That'd be cool.
Awesome.
So then, how long did you stay at that specific school, and then what was next?
I stayed at that school until I left for the Army in '91. When Desert because I by the time I was 23, I was 90. That was 1991. I was playing professionally as a musician and traveling with that, and then working out and training on my own, which was a really weird kind of scene I was in, because like I was like a heavy metal guy touring like New York City and like the East Coast and like heavy metal bands with long hair, but still was super into fitness and working out all the time and like training martial arts and stuff. So like
wow,
I had like a really weird social circle I was in.
Yeah. How do you think your martial arts training helped your music?
How would help my music? I don't know. I never really put the two together. They were like two separate things for me.
Okay.
It was like two different worlds, because I had my musician friends. Then I had a completely different social group with my fitness and martial arts friends, and they were separate. They did not overlap at all.
Really?
And if anything, it probably kept me a lot more grounded, because I was able to like get out of a bubble for a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't just martial arts and fitness all the time. It wasn't just music all the time. I had two things that were completely opposite ends of the spectrum, and I was allowed to jump in between them.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, it probably helped me stay pretty grounded and focused. And I had good relationships with people in both of them, even at other schools and different things,
Nice.
different styles, because it wasn't all or nothing for me in one of those bubbles. I could always just go back to my other social group and like interact there in like a different kind of way.
Okay.
So it's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I never really thought about it.
I've been lucky enough. I've interviewed a few, musicians. One who is a professional singer, one who is I think a guitar player, and another one who was a drummer. And it's always good to try to get that thing, how those two intertwine. And some of them have really in-depth answers and stuff, and other ones, like one it was like the guy who was a professional. Well, if you remember, we're all the same age. If you remember that TV show in the early '90s, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
Yeah.
So the group that sang on there, the a cappella group, the bass singer for that group was one of my guests. I've known him for years. And he actually specifically talked about the breathing exercises that he learned through martial arts that helped him on stage with his singing. And he was able to perform longer shows and stuff and everything, which I thought I had never heard that before. So that was kind of interesting. So yeah, anytime I find out someone's a musician, I like trying to ask that question.
And the music scene, especially back in those days, I mean, probably still today, it was very hectic. Like a lot of people, you hear stories all the time of bands breaking up. They didn't get along, like personality conflicts, all that kind of thing. Yeah. I've always been the guy that got along with everyone, never had problems, and maybe like having that ability to like go to that martial arts world for a little while and kept me centered. It kept me relaxed, maybe a little bit more than a lot of the other guys. I mean, in that scene, there's a lot of people drinking a lot of people doing drugs.
Yep.
Drugs and drinking all around me, people dropping like flies all the time. Yep. But like, because I was so interested in fitness and working out all the time, I never felt like I had the time to waste the whole day being hungover. So I never did drugs, even which is amazing to a lot of people, because 1980s New York City, like the golden age of heavy metal, like being part of that scene, it was like a circus. And I didn't even really drink that much, because like I said, I had to work out the next day. I wanted to go train with my friends afterwards. And so in that sense, it really kept me on the straight and narrow too.
That's cool. I know. I just found out about a month ago, Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses. He's been in martial arts like over 20 years. He actually joined martial arts to get sober. And he's been doing it like 25 years now, which is kind of cool. So that's cool. Awesome. That's awesome. Now, you mentioned that you'd also done, some kickboxing and boxing. Was that before you joined the Army, or was that during or after?
Well, I got into more traditional ring sports when I was in the Army, actually, because I did a couple of kickboxing style fights just solely on my traditional martial arts training.
Really? Okay.
And did well. But I got really into really formal boxing training when I was in the Army. When I went to Fort Bragg, I was in the 82nd. And it just so happened that it's just coincidence that when I was the unit I was stationed in at Fort Bragg, the All Armed Forces heavyweight boxing champion was in that battalion.
Okay.
So, and the battalion commander was a huge boxing fan, and boxing was everywhere, so like they really gave a lot of leeway to guys that wanted to go to the boxing gym and work out, and you can be around. So I was around, and Armed Forces boxing is Olympic level. Right. A lot of those guys go straight to the Olympics and stuff. So like I was around a lot of guys that were just really into boxing and training boxing, and I'd go to the boxing gym and just kind of work out. Now, of course, these guys weren't focusing on me, but I was there, doing it along with the group. And like I was seeing what like really high level boxing coaches were teaching these guys that were in the Armed Forces team and things like that. And of course, to chant the All Armed Forces champion, he had beaten the Marine Corps champion when I was there. And that was a huge scene. So that like brought a lot of attention to my unit. And so like I just got to have a like 2 or 3 years of just really good experience of seeing like firsthand like what these guys are doing every day. And it really changed. It really helped me out. Like, again, too, like they weren't training me personally, but I was just like one of the guys in the room.
Yeah.
But, you pick up a lot, and you still go through the reps and everything. And when I got out of the Army and decided to try my foray at like boxing solo without a coach, all of the things that I remember them doing there, that's what I did with the little group that I put together, and we trained ourselves. And and we did good, because like I went 7-0 in all the boxing events I entered too.
Nice. So talk about that day in December 1993 that kind of changed the path of your martial arts journey. That was UFC 1.
Oh,
right?
September, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I was actually in the Army at the time.
Okay.
And, I'm a huge martial arts fan, and the real fighting aspect is the thing that I love. And I knew about the Gracie family before that, because I remember reading about them in the back of like the Black Belt magazines, because they used to have the ads in there.
Yeah.
And like nobody could ever, it was this, people used to say there's this crazy family in Brazil that is putting these ads out for people. They have some kind of combat wrestling. That's what we used to call it. But nobody had any idea what it was.
Right.
And then when I saw the UFC 1, man, that was it. I was like, that is freaking it. That's what I wanted. That's what I'm looking for, because I've always been the super like methodical, systematic, technical dude. It's a superpower. I'm watching a superhero in action right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously there's something to this, and I immediately knew I wanted to learn it. But of course, this is 1993. I'm living in Europe at the time, actually.
Okay.
And there's just no access to any information. I'm at a United Nations training center, so I'm getting people from all over the world coming through. So anybody that has any kind of knowledge of any kind of submission, anything, like I'm picking their brain like anything. So, I did that I went back to the United States in around 95, was at Fort Bragg from 95 to 98. Just picking up whatever I could from guys coming through. The Special Forces headquarters and training center is at Fort Bragg as well. So like anytime I can grab a Green Beret and see what they're doing, I grab them. And that's basically was the slow and drudging path until I got to Colorado. I moved to Boulder in 98 after I got out.
Okay. I
think the end of 97, and hung out a little bit. I was always into fitness, like I said. So my dream was always to have a gym, but not a martial arts gym. I wanted to have like a bodybuilding gym, like Gold's Gym.
Okay.
Or like a World Gym. And I was working at the Gold's Gym outside of Fort Bragg in Fayetteville. And I had the opportunity to move to Colorado to take over for the company I was working for in Fayetteville, to take over a World Gym that wasn't doing very well. And they wanted to sell it, but it was doing really bad. Nobody wanted to take the job because I was not high level manager.
Right.
And so I volunteered to move to take this job that nobody wanted. And in exchange for turning this gym around and flipping it, it was owned by some NBA player or something like that, and they wanted to sell it.
Oh, nice.
And so we had to flip it in like a year or two, and then so they could sell it. So I got there. I met a couple other dudes that they brought from other places, and the three of us, one was a GM and I was an assistant GM. And the deal was that if we can turn this gym around and sell it for a profit, and they would give us our own gym to GM like somewhere else.
Nice.
Right. Long story short, like we flipped the gym really well. We turned it around. It started doing really well right away. And the guy sold it to a local group that wanted to turn it into a local gym. Mm-hmm. And they brought their own staff in, of course, so there was no place for us. And then the company that said that they would give us a gym, they reneged on the deal. They didn't give us a gym, of course. That was crazy. Yeah. Well, the guy that was heading up, the guy that GM'd us, he did get a gym. Really? But the other two guys, me and the other guy, just didn't get anything. The other guy took their counter offer, and he went and worked in another gym somewhere. And I was just like, I'm done with this. I don't want to do this. But at that time, I had already met them all, and I was training jiu-jitsu, so I did not want to leave now, because there was still, this is when was this? This was like 99, 98. Okay. So there's still like hardly any no jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Like anywhere. So like I was lucky enough to find a guy who had just come from Brazil and open up. At the time we were under Gracie Baja. He was using Gracie Baja name, but that stopped right away. And like, yeah, he was one of the first Americans. I think he went to Brazil before UFC 1, actually. I'm not sure. Okay. Honestly, when he went, but like it was around that time, because everything was like mayhem down there when he was down there. Yeah. And he came back, and he was a purple belt from Brazil. And man, having a purple belt from Brazil in 1999 was like having a god in your pocket. There was nobody in the center of the country. All the jiu-jitsu was like in Hawaii and California, a little bit, maybe in Florida, I think. but that was it.
So how did you find his gym then? Did you like see a sign? Did you see an ad somewhere? Was it a complete accident?
Man, I woke up one day, walked out of my house and looked across the parking lot, and there it was.
It was right by where you lived?
It was like when I moved to run that gym to Colorado, like they stuck us up in like a townhouse that was next to a supermarket. It was King Supers. It would be the equivalent of like Hornbachers here.
Okay.
Right. And, it's a big parking lot and it's got like a strip mall in it next to it, same setup as they have here. And it was right across the street from like that supermarket. And like I went across the street to the supermarket to get my chicken and broccoli because that's what I did after working out every day because my life was the gym. Nice. And I just turned my head and looked at the strip mall and it said Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I was like, awesome.
Wow.
I just walked in, man. And like that was it.
Talk about fate. Jeez.
Yeah. Not looking for it or anything. It wasn't even on my mind.
That's one of the best things happen, I guess. So then what you first walked in and met him, what were kind of the first impressions, your first class there and stuff?
Well, that was still kind of a little bit of a rough period. So like when I walked in, now remember at this time I'm running gyms. So I'm pretty yoked. Yeah. And I went in with my two buddies from the gym who were like super yoked and got like tattoos on like their face and stuff. And so like we walk in looking like trouble. And of course, immediately they think we want to fight because that was still going on back then.
Yep.
People just walking into the gym want to fight. And so like immediately I was like, no, we don't want to fight. Like I already know about jiu-jitsu. It's cool. I know that you're going to kick my ass. And Amal wasn't there at the time, actually. Okay. So it was Jay Jack, his first black belt, or what would eventually become his first black belt, which was his first coach. They had just probably opened up like within that year. So it was still a brand new school. There was no colored belts. Everybody was a white belt. And his top guy, Jay Jack, was teaching because he was already a judo black belt. Okay. Or was soon to become one. I can't remember when he actually got it. Yeah, so very, very street savvy fighting dude. Like the kind of guy that like if you really want to learn how to hurt people, give this guy jiu-jitsu and he's bad news. Nice. So like great coach. I love him. He's still one of my favorite guys. But I walk in with my friends. We sit down. We don't ask any questions. We just watch. I still to this day, I can see it in my mind right now like it happened yesterday. We walk into the gym. There was only like, the gyms weren't big back then. I think there was like maybe 3 guys on the mat. And Jay, he saw us come in. He looked at us and I saw the look on his face. He was like, God damn. Like he gets up like I'm going to have to kick someone's ass, and we're like, no, it's cool. They're like, you guys have any questions? We're like, no, because I already knew I wanted to train, so I didn't have any questions. Yeah. So he's like, do you have any questions? No. Do you like anything at all you want to know? Do you know about? No. Just sit down and we don't say anything, which is probably worse than saying something stupid. Yeah. Because now they think we just have attitudes. And, so eventually like, it settles down and like I watch the class and he tells me to come back. I can't remember if it was later that day or another day, but I wound up coming back by myself without my friends. And that's when I met Amal. Okay. And I told him that like I was really interested in jiu-jitsu. I thought I kind of like, everything that, as jiu-jitsu instructors today, everything that you don't want people to say when they come in because they're an idiot, right? Everything that like I make fun of people for saying today, I said. Like, oh, I think I could be good. Oh, I think I already know what's going on. Oh, like, I think I'm tough, all this stuff, everything that like, I roll my eyes when I hear people today say, and it's like, no, he gave me Elliot Marshall. I don't know if you know who that is, but he fought in the UFC. He was on the UFC TV show. Yep. He was like pan champion, Nogi and everything. And like, of course he's still a white belt, 17-year-old kid back then. And he did my intro class, which was basically fighting, and he kicked my ass very nicely. I enjoyed every minute of it. And like when we were done, it was like, man, where do I sign up? I'm in. I knew immediately it's what I wanted to do. I had right there on the spot. I completely lost any interest in getting back into like the fitness gym scene. I knew I just wanted to train jiu-jitsu all the time. That was it. Wow. And I never fought. I never boxed. I never kickboxed. I never did anything after that. I just jiu-jitsu. Actually, I intended to do MMA because Vale Tudo and MMA was just starting to become a thing because it was even still Vale Tudo back then. It wasn't even formal MMA because our guys were still fighting like 2 or 3 fights in one night. There was no gloves. We were still in the ring. Yep. That's what the way it was still back then. Yeah, it was just really raw and it was exactly what I wanted. I was loving it.
How long were you there before you decided you wanted to start teaching? Kind of what led to that part?
Well, because the school was so new, I had the opportunity to start teaching right away because I was one of the basically original group of guys. Okay. So as soon as somebody sat us down and decided that there's got to be a better way to do this than just beating the shit out of everybody and having them leave, we actually want to encourage people to stay and have classes. As soon as Amal decided he wanted to go to school, he needed coaches.
Okay.
Right. And like we were all he had. I wasn't spectacular or anything. I was just there. So like I started helping teaching, and then not too long after that, I took like an oddball off hour class like Saturday morning, which was really rough for me because I only wanted to train, so I didn't work a job or anything like that. I just worked in the bar a couple nights a week, and I just trained jiu-jitsu twice a day. We did that for a couple of years, and a lot of the guys we all worked in the same bar.
Okay.
And Amal had friends with Brazilians. Obviously he knew everybody in Brazil, so he would bring Brazilians up to spend, and then he would get them a job in the bar, and so they can make money, and then they train, and then they go back to Brazil. And it was like a really cool underground railroad of jiu-jitsu.
Wow. At what point did it click in your head that maybe this is something I want to do with my life and actually open a school? When did that kind of epiphany happen?
That didn't actually happen until almost right before I came here, because
Really?
the idea that this was something that could actually be a career path that you can actually make money from never occurred to anybody until well into probably the mid 2000s. I don't think anybody ever thought that this thing that we were doing back then was going to be something that was going to be accepted by society. Obviously it's changed a lot, but still, we weren't doing it because I was looking for a career. Everybody that trained, everybody competed. Everybody wanted to fight. It was just people that wanted to go. We weren't trying to build a school. In fact, the first maybe 2 or 3 years I was there, we were actively driving people out. Anybody that couldn't hang.
Wow. And
then that's when we sat down and it's man, there's got to be if we don't all want to be homeless, we got to figure out a way how to make the school grow. And then Amal got really involved with. He was one of the first wave of guys that really got into how to run a good martial arts school.
Okay.
And how to teach jiu-jitsu better than it's been being taught before and things like that. He was one of the spearhead guys, him, Ricardo Almeida. I know he worked hand in hand with Ricardo Almeida a lot because he's after he came back from Brazil, he connected with Renzo Gracie that he met in Brazil in New York. And he would fly back and forth to New York every month to continue his training until he got his black belt.
Wow.
And Ricardo is one of Renzo's OG black belts, and he had a school right across the river in New Jersey.
So how many of that original group of students from that school of Amal's, how many of them went on to open their own schools?
Man, most of them are black belts. They're either quit or they're black belts.
Okay.
I remember a couple of years ago, I went back and we had kind of when Easton had their 20-year anniversary several years back, we all came back from all the different states that we're in, and we took a group photo of that original group. Actually, I have a photo that we took as a group together when we were all white belts at a tournament, and we recreated that photo.
Nice.
20 years later, or however many long years it was, 16 or whatever. And everybody in the photo was either not there and because they were gone, or they were black belts. There was only one dude that was there that wasn't a black belt.
Wow.
That's kind of cool. And they all run their own, and they all either run an Easton Academy because Easton has a bunch of schools now, or they run their own school, or did at the time anyway.
Okay. So what led to the decision to move to Fargo, North Dakota, of all places?
I married a girl from Fargo and she drugged me back here. Same old story that I hear from everybody.
Yep.
Wouldn't have been my first choice.
Yeah.
I've lived all over the United States at one point or another. And I definitely wouldn't have picked here. But it's cool. I like it. Great summers, not so great winter.
Yeah, winter sucks.
I wanted to run, I was the guy that was picked to run the first affiliate satellite school for the Boulder Academy. When Amal first opened in Denver, Denver proper, he opened another school there, and I was the one that went and ran it from day to day. And I was a purple belt at the time. I don't remember what year it was, but I want to say maybe 2004-ish, 2005.
Okay.
And probably more 2004 because I graduated college and started working in 2004. And then as soon as I got this tech job, because I graduated, I have a bachelor's degree in computer science and information security.
Okay.
So I was one of those first information security guys when that first broke out in the early 2000s. I got a job at this big tech firm, kind of like a Microsoft campus type thing.
Yep.
Not Microsoft, but something similar.
Yeah.
And I was there only a few months, and Amal calls me at work one day and he's like, I'm thinking about opening up a school. I want you to run it. And I was like, give me 2 weeks. I'll give him my notice, And he was like, how much money can you pay me? He's like, not very much. And I was like, I was making a ton of money. I just, this is a tech firm. I'm doing really well. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm in. Because I was not enjoying life in the computer lab and the corporate world. It's just not for me.
I get that.
Wasted all that college money. just got my college loan forgave just this year.
Wow.
Yeah. So like I said, yeah, man, I'm in. Well, I mean, there was a little bit more to it. I called Sarah, and I said, hey man, can we do this? If we want to have a school, this is it. But I wanted to stay in Colorado and run a gym for the team. I wanted to be like, I never really saw myself as like the head guy.
Yeah.
I'm a team guy. I want to be on a team. I don't want to be like by myself. But when we were of the group, Sarah and I were like one of the first ones to get married. We were one of the first ones to get kids, and like as soon as that started happening, it's like, well, they've got kids now, so we're not going to be seeing them anymore. So we kind of started getting, Sarah started getting a little bit nervous because she felt like she didn't have support and we weren't by anybody's family.
Right.
So the question was, do we move to like New Jersey or do we move to North Dakota? And she was not down with wanting to move to New Jersey. She's gone there once or twice with me to visit, and it was very overwhelming for her.
Yeah.
And she wanted to go back to her family. So I was like, well, we could do this anywhere. It doesn't really matter to me. And we moved to Fargo. Nice. And once we made that decision about a year out.
Okay.
Because she was still pregnant at the time. So we wanted to have the baby and everything first. So once we made that decision, I started, driving up to Fargo on weekends from Colorado to just kind of like scope out the scene, see what the martial arts scene was up here. Because again, like this is kind of pre-internet, so you got to kind of do your own recon.
Yeah.
And so I was just kind of going around trying to meet people and see what's going on. I started telling people that, I'm going to be coming down. I was stopping to martial arts schools, training with people. There was an ATA karate school in town that kind of all the MMA guys kind of took over.
I remember that.
Back then.
Yep.
I got on message boards and everything like that saying that, jiu-jitsu is going to be coming to Fargo and things like that. And the first person to ever contact me was Joey Caveney.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you know who that is.
Yep. I remember the name. Yep.
Yeah, he used to fight MMA and he was my kickboxing coach for quite a long time. He was very, very good, ran a great class. And he was the first guy that met me. So like he was my point of contact every time I came up here. He would meet me and he would bring me around and introduce me to like the guys MMA. He's the one that brought me to the ATA place. And I would just train with people and say, hey, and do an impromptu class, or if anybody wanted to train or learn anything or something, I would just come in and just meet people and train and, be cool and just hang out. I developed a really big email list and interest list doing that, and I had the website up and everything. And I made the website about like 8 months before I was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I got here and found the place and opened the doors, we had like 100 people signed up in like the first 8 weeks.
Wow.
So like we started off really strong, started off really well, because that was the real nervousness. We didn't really have a backup and we didn't really have a lot of money. So we just came in here and we put everything into it and just rolled the dice and just it's all or nothing. So we got a really good spot and we tried to make a really nice school. And I just replicated. By that point, one of the things that Easton Jiu-Jitsu is getting very popular for was running really good schools, teaching really well, and having very good structure classes. Because even when I first moved here, I came here with a full curriculum for advanced, intermediate, and fundamentals, right? Mm-hmm. And we had a very specific way I like to do things, and it was very strange for a lot of people because that wasn't very common yet. Yeah. Nowadays, if you're at a school and they don't have a curriculum, like it's like what the hell's happening? Yeah. But like back then, it was very strange to like have developed a curriculum and a system for teaching and training and everything like that, and that was like what I brought to Fargo. That was kind of like different, I think.
Okay.
And that people were used to. And it went both ways. People came in and they were like, I'm not doing that. That's like McDojo shit. And other people felt really comfortable because they felt like they learned better. So like the people that didn't like it, which was mostly the people that like were already training on their own and they kind of had their culture. Because it was strange because when I first moved to Fargo, MMA was very popular here.
Yeah.
And I thought it was amazing. I was like, this is really cool because I was still into MMA and stuff too back then. I was like, man, this is really cool. Colorado had a very, very friendly, unified martial arts scene. Mm-hmm. Even with different schools, a lot of guys got together and trained together. The best guys from the schools got together and to try and bring themselves up, and they tried to push each other to go to different shows and events. And, it was like very camaraderie. And I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do in Fargo. And I was like, yeah, because there was all this interest in training MMA, but like no place to train. Yeah. Everybody was like training in their garages and stuff. So I was like, I had this vision of like unifying the whole area into like one powerhouse team. And that didn't go over.
Right.
So, cause like, it's very, this place kind of, I don't know, it just didn't work out the way I thought. So, there was a lot of conflict at the beginning. Yeah. And, but like we get through it and everything settles down eventually after a few years. And so I kind of changed my focus a little bit, because the first couple of years I was open, we had the MMA team and we did Muay Thai. I was one of the first Bang Muay Thai affiliates and all that kind of stuff. Then after a while, and once everything started settling down, I kind of changed my focus a little bit from MMA to, it's like, okay, well, if the big unification theory thing isn't going to happen, I decided to, like, I'm going to go ahead and build my own scene from scratch out of people that are just normal people that want to learn how to train. And I'm going to build regular people up from nothing, not like just, cruising the wrestling rooms trying to find all the phenoms and teach them MMA and stuff.
Right.
That became the focus after a couple of years, and probably the best move I made, to be honest with you, because I really like that. I love introducing jiu-jitsu to people that really need it. There's a lot of people that, like, they don't really need jiu-jitsu. They're already winners in life,
Yeah.
And they got a lot going for them. But like, I really liked when I made that change, when I had, and the real social proof for me was, like, after we started teaching normal people, regular people that didn't have a background, when we started doing the local competitions, the local competitions were dominated by, like, all these wrestlers and dudes that have been fighting MMA for like 6 years, in the white belt division.
Yep.
So it was really cool, because, like, the first time we went in, like, we got steamrolled, and then, like, a year later, it wasn't so bad. The following one, it was like, oh man, we're holding our own. We even won a couple. And then by probably like year 3, it was like we were winning, and like kind of chased everybody away, because now everybody's like mad and we must be cheating or something, and then it was like, then the scene kind of died. I don't know, because it was just us.
Yeah.
And then we just focused on that. You probably remember those days.
Oh yeah. And the local MMA scene too. I mean, we used to have 4, 5, 6 fights a year in the Fargo area. And now we're lucky if we have 1 or 2. And there was a couple of years where we had none. So
man, it was great. Yeah, we went through that whole span of like several years where there was no commission anymore and all that stuff.
Yeah,
and, like,
they rebuilt the commission.
Like, I was really excited when I first moved here. I was like, man, there's so much potential to stuff, that there was so many ways schools could go. It didn't even matter like if there was other schools, because there was so many ways that everybody can go and be unique.
Yep. I think from like 2006 till about 2014, it was just amazing local MMA scene. And at one point there was, I think at one point there was 4 or 5 local fight teams. I don't know how many were official schools, but there was probably 4 or 5 local teams that called themselves a fight team. But I think we still technically, maybe 2 schools out of those. But yeah, there was fights all the time. And then one of the local fight promoters was working on a deal to have monthly fights. So then that fell through and stuff. But I mean, it was easily at least 5 or 6 events every year, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Now, do you remember your first student that you brought from white to black?
I know who all my students are.
Okay.
That, came to black belt, of course.
Yes.
I have a picture of every single one of them on the wall.
That's cool.
At this gym. But the first guy that went white to black with me was Dave Tofty.
Okay.
But in all fairness, I don't know if that's actually the question, because like Dave Tofty and Darren Combs, who Darren is the guy that owned a Blow Sew and Vac sewing machine up until this year. He just retired. He just sold it.
Oh, okay.
They were two of my first guys that came in immediately, because I met them, I believe, at the like ATA.
Okay.
And they came in, but they had previous training already.
Oh.
Like they were good friends with this guy who's a black belt under Mark Lehman at Cobra Kai in Vegas.
Okay.
And so they would go down to Vegas and train. So, and those guys walked in with white belts, and God bless them, they went through my entire system exactly how I wanted them to without complaining. But if they would have been wearing purple belts when they walked in, I wouldn't have questioned it.
Oh, wow.
And Dave was my size, my build. He was paramount for me in those early days, because he was my primary training partner, because I was still wanting to compete back then.
Yeah.
So I still competed a bit for the first several years I was open. And he was a great training partner to have. I got to be honest with you, I don't know what it would have been like if he didn't walk in. He was very special to me.
Yeah.
And he still comes in and trains to this day.
That's cool. And what about talk about the Grand Forks School? When 2 years ago, how long was that idea in your head to open a second location, and why Grand Forks?
Man, well, Grand Forks, it's because it's the only other place with any population within like 5 hours a year. So like, of course, because there's a commute factor there. But people have been contacting me from Grand Forks and the Grand Forks Air Force Base incessantly since the day I opened in 2008 open a program there.
Okay.
I just never was willing to do it until I just didn't pull the trigger until I was 100% confident I could get there and provide, the experience that was up to standard.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure that like I had enough coaches or had someone that could hold it down. And it really was just a matter of, the plan was always on the table.
Okay.
So like I had, from the time I finally found the right person and pulled the trigger and we said, yeah, we're going to do it, to the time we actually opened our doors was probably only 3 months.
Oh, wow.
It was like a world record opening.
Dang.
Because I had everything in place. I had all the stuff. I had everything already done. I knew exactly what I wanted. And all we had to do was go there, find the spot, get the lease, and then just start moving stuff in. And then it probably would have been 2 months if I didn't have to order the mat, because you don't know what kind of mat size until till your build out is almost done.
Yeah.
So I had to wait. And then what I was waiting for was the mat.
Okay.
And then I opened it up, and it's a very boutique school. It's really nice. It's in a strip mall. It's right next to that Happy Harry's on Gateway.
Okay.
And right across the street from the medical school.
Okay.
And yeah, man, it's a great spot. It looks wonderful. It's no frills. It's like you come in, it's the mat, you got the change rooms, and that's it. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's doing really well.
Nice.
We're slow growing it because this is a little bit different of an experience than Fargo, because in Fargo, we needed results.
Yeah.
Or die. But I fronted everything for Grand Forks, so there was no bill.
Okay.
I didn't owe anything. So like we could take as long as we want vetting people and bringing them in slow and developing a good culture. Because, when you a lot of guys, when they first open a gym, they have a really great idea what their culture wants to be, and they know how they want their gym, but they're forced to make concessions because they need to pay the bills. So there's maybe somebody they don't think is good, but he's got money, we're going to take him. And like your dream starts to fade really fast like that. The Grand Forks gym wasn't money dependent, so we were able to really slow grow it. It's 1.5 years now, and I think we're still only at like around 100 people.
Okay.
Maybe not even.
Yeah.
We just do jiu-jitsu and kids. That's it. No kickboxing, no anything.
Okay.
And I think actually just this month we're testing some striking, but it's not really on the schedule. It's more, we're like beta testing some striking classes right now.
Okay. Very cool.
And I have one of my brown belts. And the reason why this whole thing exists is Preston Fish, one of my brown belts. He's awesome. He moved his entire family to Grand Forks just to do this.
Wow.
And he runs the gym full time. He's my GM there, the day-to-day guy.
Okay.
And I drive up every Monday and I teach all the classes on Monday night and kind of set the tone for the week. And then they just train, and then they just do the classes, all week. Because the way my curriculum runs is we do the same thing all week in all the classes. So
that is cool.
Yeah, and that's it.
Congrats. That's awesome, man. So as far as competition goes then for grappling and for jiu-jitsu, is there enough local competition, being in an area like Fargo, North Dakota? First of all, is there any really local competition that happens, or do you have to travel for pretty much any tournament you bring your students to?
I think it's really good. I mean, we got guys over in Bismarck right now, today, because they're doing one out there. But I think if you look at last year's submission challenge, we had like over 400 people. That place was packed. That was bigger than several of the Minneapolis tournaments.
Wow.
I don't know where all these people came from, but they were from all over. If the planets align right, we can have a really great showing. But then the last submission challenge that just happened in May, it was dead. It was like half that. I don't think we maybe had 200 people.
Wow. Okay.
So like, I don't know. I have gave up a long time ago trying to figure out like what motivates people around here to do stuff. We just train, and if people want to do competition, like we'll support them, and people are going to show up or they don't. The thing that I advise to all my students is if you want people to show up, you have to do it yourself. You can't be mad if nobody shows up if you're not there. Right. So I always tell my guys to pre-register, because especially like with Smooth Comp now, it's very easy. You can pre-register and show that there's somebody there, but you don't have to pay yet. So like a lot of times people are sitting around waiting to see if anybody else is going to join.
Okay.
So like you just pre-register, get your name on there. And then like if a couple of people pop on, you can pop on and train, or you can pop on and pay and finish your registration and things like that. So we're always watching to see if other people are looking to see. And I hope more people do that, because it's free. You don't even have to finish your registration. If you just start your registration, you'll show up as an unfinished on there. But usually that's just people like seeing if anybody else is going to show up.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a good way to kind of gauge, for if your bracket has people in it. But maybe you might attract more people if you get on there.
Okay.
But whether or not, like I encourage people to go, like, go if nobody signs up, or you can bump divisions, or if, they'll always spot you for the next tournament if nobody's in there. I know it's bad. I know, like, getting prepped for a tournament and getting excited and then having nobody, it stinks.
Yeah.
But that's the world we live in up here.
Yep.
I always tell guys that they come in with this grand expectations of wanting to be like a competitor. It's like, man, you're going to have to travel.
Definitely. Personally, are you surprised that, since you opened in 2008, that there hasn't been another BJJ school that's popped up in the area as much as the sport has grown?
Yes and no.
Okay.
On one hand, I think that us in the ACA have such a large presence on the internet. It looks like maybe it's bigger than it is, and Fargo looks so small.
True.
On the other hand, I think that, on that same hand, I don't think anybody wants to move here. The weather, I think people come to check it out and go through a winter, and they're like, the heck with that.
Yeah.
But now, especially with, there are schools now popping up, we're starting to get like satellites of like students opening schools now and things like that.
Okay.
It's starting to look like a scene. I think if anything, that's going to probably dissuade anybody from the outside wanting to come. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Anybody who's doing any kind of market research or thinking they're going to do any kind of availability studies on the population, it's still not that big of a town. I still consider Fargo like a big, small town.
Yeah.
And like any school that's going to be a big name is probably still looking for a bigger population.
Makes sense.
You know what I mean? That's kind of like my 2 cents on it.
No, I get it. That makes sense completely. So over all your years of martial arts training, is there one philosophy that comes to mind that's at the top of your list you keep coming back to?
A philosophy of training that I'm a very, very big fundamentals guy.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, my fundamentals program here at the school, that's like my baby. Like I usually have my young, passionate guys doing like advanced. Like how I introduce new people to jiu-jitsu is like one of my biggest favorite things in the world to do. Fundamentals and intermediate training, like getting people. I love being in the room when you see the aha moment in their eyes saying at the moment that they get hooked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's like one of my favorite things. I'm a stickler at how people learn in the first 12 to 24 months. I think that you're going to learn most of the jiu-jitsu you're going to know in the first 12 to 24 months, and everything is going to be building on that foundation after. Okay. So I'm very specific with how I think people should learn at the beginning. But after that, like if you build that foundation right, it's crazy. After that, it's fun. Yeah. There's so many different ways you can go. So like I think strong, like just everything I do is strong fundamentally. I take a systematic approach to everything. Mm-hmm. Like I said at the beginning, one of the things I brought to North Dakota when I brought jiu-jitsu here was a very systematic approach to teaching and learning, which was not very common. Yeah. That was kind of like our secret weapon. It's kind of like I said, with the internet now and how everybody knows how everybody's doing everything, it's kind of like it's not the weapon it was anymore. Like everybody's doing it now. Right. But that was kind of like what gave us kind of like that head start, I think.
That makes sense.
Back in the day when everybody was like, what the heck are they doing over there?
Exactly.
How are they getting so good?
So over your martial arts career, what's your worst martial arts related injury?
My worst martial arts related injury it has to be my C5, C6 fusion.
Really? Okay.
Now, and this, God, I don't even want the VA to hear me say that. I want because I don't know like if it was caused by like that, but like I have a C5, C6 spinal fusion, which is very common with airborne paratroopers. Oh, it's the airborne injury. Yeah. Everybody who's airborne, opening shock, jumping out of an airplane with an 8-pound helmet on your head, Jeez. That's the C5, C6 waiting to happen. And everybody. So I'm sure that's the cause of it, but I'm sure jiu-jitsu didn't help because I grew up in the neck cranking era. Yeah. When neck cranks were legal still. Yep. And I've been neck cranked quite a few times in competition that I fought off sometimes didn't fight off. And so like that was probably that. I mean, I have half my medial meniscus removed in both knees. I've got torn MCL in both knees. I have bad hips, probably from the army, but jiu-jitsu probably didn't help. Elbows jacked up, my shoulders are torqued. I had that open heart surgery, which made my thoracic mobility really bad. Wow. I mean, not jiu-jitsu related, but it still affects it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I got a few fun questions we use to wrap up the interview. Now, I know you said at one point you talked about possibly, fighting MMA, but that never actually happened. But let's say you would have. What do you think your walk-up music would be? What song's playing as you're walking into that cage?
Well, it would have to have been something 80s heavy metal, Slayer, something. I don't know. Never really got that far. Okay. I trained because back in those days, there wasn't a lot of events. So only the best guys in the gym fought and everybody just supported them. So I trained MMA a lot, but I just never got the call, Yep. And by the time it became more popular, I mean, I was 40 years old the day I walked into Fargo. Okay. So, I mean, it's a little past that for me. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like, it's not unreasonable, that I haven't fought.
No, I get that.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, probably something heavy metal, thrash, bringing it back, OG.
Okay, I like it. All right, who are 3, 4, 5 names you'd put on your personal Mount Rushmore of martial arts?
For my personal one?
Yep.
Well, I would probably have to say, well, you know what? Let me do it like this.
Okay.
I'm going to say Elio Gracie.
Nice.
And I'm going to go ahead and say Carlson Gracie.
Okay.
Because I'm a huge BJJ history person.
Okay.
And the history of jiu-jitsu is very, very misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
Carlson Gracie is the person directly responsible for how everybody trains jiu-jitsu today in schools and group classes.
Okay.
I would say maybe like Holes Gracie, since we're going to stay with the Gracie, I'll say Holes because he's the one that opened jiu-jitsu up to other styles and brought stuff in.
Okay.
And maybe Hoist for doing the UFC and bringing it to the world.
Okay.
Right. That would be my Gracie family, Mount Rushmore. Okay. I could do more modern guys.
Yeah.
I could say, like Danaher as a coach, Gordon Ryan for being the greatest. We can go into MMA with like GSP being the first rounded guy. I mean, like we can do this forever.
Yeah. No, I get it.
But if you want to say historical, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I would probably start there.
I like it. All right. How about a favorite martial arts book?
I haven't read very many martial arts books.
Okay.
Right now, if I had to say, I would say Robert Drysdale's 2 books about the history of jiu-jitsu, Opening the Closed Guard and the Rise and Evolution of Jiu-Jitsu. Nice. I will not even talk about the history of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in any way with anyone until they've read that book first.
Really?
If somebody asks me any questions on the history of jiu-jitsu, I'll be like, did you read Robert Drysdale's book? And they say no. I'm like, don't talk to me. Go read the book first.
Nice.
Everybody who trains should read that book.
Okay. I like it.
I have no affiliation to Robert Drysdale. I don't make any money for pushing his book or anything like that. I just think that it's really good. And I think that's something that people should know.
Okay. All right. This one you may or may not have an answer for. I mean, you can kind of grow up in the same decades as me, but maybe. Do you have a favorite martial arts video game? Do you ever get into gaming at all?
No. I mean, I liked video games, but I was never into like Mortal Kombat or anything like that. That wasn't my thing.
No worries.
Sorry, I don't really have one for that.
It's all good. How about a favorite martial arts TV show?
This is going to sound strange, but the Highlander series.
Oh, I love it. No, that's not strange.
The Highlander series was one of my favorite shows back because that was 80s, I think, right?
That was 90s. Yep.
90s?
The movie came out in the 80s. The series came out in the 90s. Oh,
that's right.
Yep.
The Highlander I always found amazing because the guy was immortal. So he went through all those historic time periods. Yep. And I feel like they did a really great job reflecting the authenticity of the era's martial arts at the time for whatever period they were in that episode.
Yeah.
He did like that guy could switch from like kung fu to like ninjutsu to samurai to like judo. And he really sold it. It looked like he really knew what he was doing. I really appreciated that about the show. That's one of the things I liked about it.
It's a great show. I'll send you the link when we're done, but episode 31, almost 4 years ago, I got to interview Adrian Paul.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. He was super fun to talk to. And that was a good interview. So you might enjoy that.
And he had the hair to beat at the time too.
He still has the long hair.
The ponytail.
He still has the long hair. So
that was it, man.
Yep. That's cool. All right. How about a favorite martial arts movie?
Big Trouble in Little China.
Nice.
No question. The best fight scenes ever.
That is awesome. I've actually interviewed one, maybe 2 people from that movie. So that is cool. I love it. I rewatch that one probably once a year. So final question, doesn't have to be a martial arts movie, but any movie you've seen in your whole life, a favorite movie fight scene.
Man, I drive my son crazy because he always asks me, what's your favorite band? What's your favorite guitar player? Because he's a musician. And like, I don't speak in absolutes like this. I don't have a favorite. There's so many that I like for different reasons.
Yeah.
Favorite fight scene. I can't even think anything off the top of my head.
And people pick anything. We have Star Wars, we have Rocky, we have Born Identity. A lot of people have recently been picking They Live. The fight scene in the alley.
Oh, yeah. That was a good one.
Yep. Marvel movie, all kinds of stuff. Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris in the Coliseum.
I don't know, man. I can't think of anything. I'm sorry. I'm a terrible interviewee.
No, it's been going great. Well, before we wrap it up, is there anything I forgot to ask you or you want to be sure we get out there? And I will, when I release the episode, I will share the link for your school and anything else you want me to.
No, man, I think that was a pretty cool question and answer session there. Like, I would just say that, like anybody who's interested in learning to train jiu-jitsu, there's a lot of really cool schools popping up now.
Yeah.
But if anybody's interested in coming in and check out Fargo BJJ, we have a very friendly culture. We have a great onboarding process. Come in and check it out. It's definitely for anybody. Like, you don't have to be a crazy person or a fighter. Even to this day, we still get that. Oh, I wish I came in sooner. It wasn't what I expected. If anybody's out there that wants to try and train, man, just take the lead. Just walk in somewhere. Just go somewhere and walk in.
Yeah.
You're going to like it. Believe me.
And I can attest to George. I got to go to a seminar. The one time we had that open martial arts weekend that was at Red River Taekwondo like 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I got to go through that seminar and actually train with George and learn some techniques. And he's an amazing teacher. So I highly recommend it. If you're listening to this and you're local, definitely check it out. But like you said, just find a school and go. That's the important thing.
Yep.
Well, seriously, man, this has been so much fun. I truly, truly appreciate this. And I can't wait to get the episode out for the listeners.
Thank you, man. I'm sorry I made you wait so long.
Thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist. We hope you will join us every week for a brand new episode with a different martial artist telling their story. If you enjoy the show, be sure to leave us a review. Also, be sure to check out our website at everydaymartialartist.com. There you can find all of our episodes and contact us to suggest guests and ask questions. Again, thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist, and we'll see you next week.